recording. Okay, here we are. So good morning, everybody, and welcome along to this AMOC in Conversation meeting. So today we are joined by Albert Castaigne, and he is from Brough Superior Motorcycles. We also have along with us, or we should have, he's just joining, we have Terry Holt, and Terry Holt is one of our avid Australian members, and Terry has been, bear with me one moment, bear with me. Sorry, Terry's one of our avid Australian members, and he's very used to motorcycles as well as Aston Martins. So it's up to these two guys now to let us see exactly what it is that they've been working on. And so Terry, can you hear me? Albert, can you hear me?
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with?
Hello, Albert, you're on mute.
Yeah, hello, here.
Hello.
That's okay now?
Yes, that's great. We can hear you.
Good, good, thank you.
So it's over to you, Albert.
Yeah, so it started now?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Hello, everybody. I'm pleased to introduce you this outstanding motorcycle. I'm Albert Castaigne. I'm the executive director from Brough Superior Motorcycles. We are a high-end, low-volume, bespoke motorcycle manufacturer in France. And we have a partnership since 2019 with Aston Martin to develop and produce limited edition motorcycles. And the one we will describe today is the AMB 001, which have been unveiled in 2019, so 4 years ago, because it was in November at the Milano show. And this first edition of 100 units have been sold out, and we have delivered nearly 80 of them at the moment. And we have now a new version, which is the AMB Pro. So I will describe you those bikes. I let Christine asking questions, and I could reply as you want.
I think Terry's actually going to be asking you some questions this morning. Terry's the bike
Okay.
expert, I think. Terry, you're on mute at the moment, but I just wanted to introduce you because you're the person in AMOC who seems to have so much experience of motorcycles. And in fact, I think if we just show how everything started for you. So Terry, do you want to give some background to some of this?
Yeah.
Well,
AGS and BSA.
Yes, Albert, this is not quite the AMB one, but it was my start in motorcycle racing in the UK, and then road bikes. So I went on from there. But I've seen your machines at Blenheim Palace in 1919, and I took a lot of pictures of them because I was most impressed with the engineering in them. And the AMB one that you're producing for Aston Martin is a sensational piece of engineering.
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, no, please go on.
I was going to say, how did this all come about? Because Aston Martin and motorbikes don't go hand in hand, and Brough Superior haven't made motorcycles for nearly 80 years. So it was quite a surprise to firstly see your standard Brough Superiors and then to hear about the tie-up with Aston Martin. Could you
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
it?
So let me explain. Let me explain how it started, because so first, like, as your pictures, you know, that remind me my father, who brought me to motorcycles when I was a child, and he owns BSA Road Rocket bike, so something really similar to the red one you have on the picture. And
Yes.
it's all about passion of motorcycles, because we have been involved in design engineering for motorcycles since more than 20 years. I start to work with motorcycles right after my studies, and we settled a design and engineering office. So we were selling design and engineering services, and we've worked with all the main major manufacturers. So we were really keen on designing, developing motorcycles. We did it with the Japanese manufacturer, we did it with Ducati, but we have still followed our dream, which was to restart a brand and to be able to design and produce a motorcycles, including the engine. So it's what we have achieved with Brough Superior, because as you know, Brough Superior is a British legacy brand from Nottingham originally, which was the
Yes.
pinnacle of motorcycles pre-war. So they, during 20 years, from 1919 to 39, they produced the top of the range motorcycle, the Rolls Royce of motorcycles, as it was known before the war.
It was, yes.
Yeah, and it remained in history due to Lawrence of Arabia, because he owned 7 bikes in a row from the brand and died in the 7th one in 35, which was a really mediatic accident. And but it was not just that, because during 10 years he was riding nearly every day Brough Superior's bike, because after his spy career in Levant, you know, in Syria, he was
Yes.
in the Dorset. So he was let's say hidden in the Dorset, not to make wave, you know, not to make troubles and so on. And so in the army, in the tank regiment, his main occupation was riding. So he gathered more than 200,000 kilometers of riding Brough Superiors, writing poems, writing odes to the joy to ride the bikes. And so he has a correspondence with George Brough, the founder of Brough Superior. So he was really involved in the brand. And where we were surprised in when we restarted the brand in 2013, 10 years ago, we were surprised to see how it remains in people's mind, because we did an international show showing a prototype of the new era Brough Superior, and we raised interest immediately. We gathered orders worldwide. I remind that the first order came from New Zealand, but we did in Australia, US for sure, worldwide. We sold bike worldwide, and because people know that Brough Superior means something. And it was the same thing with Aston Martin. When we met, they knew that the brand is bankable, you know, that there is something to see, and that fit with Aston Martin as well, because there is James Bond on one side, we have Lawrence of Arabia, 2 spies. It's a British legacy brand with a centenary of history. Brough Superior were the really sporty bike pre-war with a lot of land speed records and so on. So there are a lot of common things. And it was a visit in Gaydon. We were to the Aston Martin HQ, introduced by Total, which was a common sponsor at this moment. And so we have an introduction with the former CEO was Andy Palmer, and we met Simon Sproul, and they are fond of motorcycles. And we just made a factory visit, and we say at the first meeting we have to make a bike together, and we decide that it take some months to settle the contractual and legal aspect, which is always the harder thing. And then we decided to launch a motorcycle project. It was really easy going because even Marek Reichman, which is the head designer, he owns motorcycles. He loves motorcycles. So we have had a really immediate response from the design department. They were really excited to design a bike as well. So what you see here, for example, is it's a really original design. It's a car designer design for a motorcycle. It's really new. It's breaking edge, and it's typically the Aston Martin perimeter of the project. Because to make you understand, what you see here, it's the body design, really similar to the hypercar, like Valkyrie and Valhalla. It's the same team who have designed both. And at the end, they delivered to us, you know, the 3D file of the body. Because to be an Aston Martin product, it has to be designed by Aston Martin. So it was really important that it's a design, internal design from Aston Martin. And we brought the technique, the development, and some changes. It was a common project for sure, but it's really an Aston Martin design, and we are fond of because it's really new, and there are no comparable bikes on Earth.
No, well, that's amazing. Well, one of my questions was going to be, does somebody at Aston Martin like motorbikes? Because this doesn't occur unless somebody has passion for them. Some of the interesting designs, obviously, got radial discs on it, which is totally different from the Brough Superior bike that you sell for the road.
Yeah.
And the most interesting thing about the whole bike is the suspension, the front suspension, which is not unlike the girder forks that the original Brough Superior had, which were, I think, castle forks. And
Yeah, exactly.
This gives the suspension on, well, as you would know, the wheelbase and the steering head angle changes on compression of telescopic forks. So is this one of the reasons you went to these forks, which I must say, when I saw them at Blenheim Palace, they're milled out of billet aluminium by the look of it, and they just were stunning. And I couldn't believe I took pictures of the front forks, I must say. But how did that bring?
No, this is in our DNA because during our career, we have designed and engineered a lot of bikes for some other manufacturer. We have developed some own patents, and this is typically one from ours. It's similar to the OSAC patent system, but we did it a long time ago before, and you have something similar on the BMW K series, and even on the new Honda Goldwing, for example. So it's a double triangle system, and the main interest is to divide the steering from braking. That means that the bike is braking flat. You could have a geometrical input on the behavior of the bike because it's not a telescopic translation like a telescopic fork. So you could have a displacement of the wheel axle as you want. If you want to bring stability, if you want to bring high-speed cornering, for example. So that's really interesting because you're free to define a geometry for the front end. And in terms of perception for the pilot, the bike is, you could brake really hard. The bike is not diving. And it's really stable on high-speed cornering. So it's untypical on a track bike, for sure. But everything is untypical on this bike because, you know, we haven't mentioned yet, I guess, but the turbo, a turbocharged twin, it's something unique. There have been some try from Japanese manufacturer in the 80s. They all stopped because the turbo was too brutal for the motorcycle application. Thanks God, with the evolution of the system, it's a smaller turbo. We have the electronic to manage it, so no, it's okay. But that's really untypical. You have just a supercharged bike from Kawasaki, which is the brand new H2R, but it's the only turbocharged bike on production at the moment.
Right. Well, that's interesting because when you're racing a standard road racing bike, when you're on the limit, as you would know, you're very finely balanced as the bike's moving through the corners, and a little bit too much and you're on the road. And with the turbocharger, I thought, well, this is going to be very tricky to ride unless you've got some very complex electronics to deal with this.
Yeah.
Is that how you go around this?
Yeah, exactly. Because you could have several mappings for traction control. With the new electronic, it's detecting the slipping between front and rear, for example. So it could correct if there are too much torque and avoiding drift, avoiding wheelings as well, because wheeling in terms of efficiency for a racing bike is not good. So, and the question is when you could accelerate full throttle in total confidence. So anyway, anyhow, it's a sensation bike. It's not, a really simple functioning like a 4-inline cylinder from Japanese production, for example, which is really progressive. Here you have some peak torques, you have some big moment of power, but that's incredible sensation. So it's but you could have a reasonable ride with, for sure. But it has been made to provide sensation. So it's always plain. You have the torque of 1800 big twin Harley to make you understand, as it's only a 1000 cc. So you have nearly two times the torque of a normal 1000 cc twin. So you could have you could put some gear more up, easily, because you have always a plain torque, which is during 4000 RPM. The curve is totally flat, so it's always disposable. Like I could compare that to an electric bike now. Electric motorcycles that are plain in terms of torque as well.
Yes, they're using them in observed trials and so on nowadays. So I've had a little bit to do with those, but this is, that's amazing. What can you see it being useful? Because this is built as a track bike. I wouldn't want to throw it down the road because of the quality of it. I've had expensive bikes that I was reluctant to push too hard. When I was sponsored, it didn't really matter. But if it's your own bike, you don't really want to bounce one of them down the road. So what are they going to be? Will it be a specific class, do you think, for these, or will it be just buy them for use on a private track or track days?
Yeah. So frankly speaking, a big part of the customers are collectioners, and they are buying an art piece in some ways, and as in their collection. We did a lot of bike with finish matching to cars, to bespoke Aston Martin bespoke cars. They ask to have the same body color, the same leather work, and so on. So they are really keen on finishes. And when they are speaking about going on track, they have the bike in delivery, and the bike is so perfectly finished with all this shiny carbon, this paint job, the handcrafted leather work, the polished by hand titanium, and so on. They don't dare to go on track with at the end. So we have some riding, but really a few.
Yes. Well, I could imagine that, because I wouldn't really want to push it hard around the track for fear of damaging it, because as you say, like the 177 and the Valkyrie, that when you get to this height in engineering and quality of engineering, they do become art pieces. They're just stunningly built. I had a very good look at your bikes, as I said, in the UK, and the engineering is amazing. And I believe the engine crankcases are milled out of billet aluminium.
Yeah. No, that's this is unique as well. It exists on some application like Le Mans cars or MotoGP. Yamaha did it some seasons. That's we start from a solid block, 160 kilo of raw material, and we are cutting less than 30 kilo of finished part inside. It's 12 hours in a machine, and that allows you to have the perfect finish external, what is visible, but above all, you have the perfect strength and material state in all the technical area. And you know, this engine cope with big constraints, because with the turbo, we have, for example, 8 studs to fasten the crankshaft. Normally, you have only 4. We made some tests at more than 250 brake horsepower with the turbo blowing high, which doesn't make sense for the bike because you can't exploit it. So the limit that we have settled is 225 on the Pro, which is really sufficient, believe me. And we have to cool down the admission with an intercooler to reach this level of power. So you know, it's and the engine is really strong. And if you see the bike, so the front and the rear of the bike, they are disconnected. The engine is the main part of the frame, meaning that the swing arm is bolted on the bottom end of the crankcases, and then the front is only held by the front cylinder head with a really tiny chassis made from aluminum and titanium. So it's really optimized to be lightweight and simple. And if one day you visit the factory, you will see, when you see the bike without the body, I wouldn't say that it's nicer, but it's really nice to see it undressed, because all the technical parts are machined from plane, are specific development. Even the bolts are turned, you know, unitary by the supplier from Airbus, because where we are in Toulouse, we are relying on the aircraft industry because of Airbus location. So all the material and the process are inspired from aircraft industry.
Yes, I could see that. I could see that the engineering in it would be to that standard, and I knew Airbus was in Toulouse, and I also understand the front braking system on your standard bike is similar to a braking system on the aircraft with the dual discs. So I can see you going into manufacturing parts for aircraft here, but the cylinder heads and barrels, how are they made? Are they billet again and then a liner in them? Is that billet aluminium with a steel liner and the head the same? It is,
wow. All big series 7000 series alloys, which are aeronautical alloys. And it's fun because when George Brough stopped production in '39, it was because of the war effort in UK, and he was asked to produce Rolls-Royce Merlin engine parts. So really? He did it. So still some aeronautical touch, even with Lawrence of Arabia in his famous race with the plane. So there are some kind of similarities. You know, the engine, as you see, has a 88-degree angle, so it's a 90-degree engine, and it's exactly the architecture that George Brough did in '42 during the war, preparing the post-war bike. Allows this architecture, allowing him to rev higher, you know, to have higher revving, self-balancing system due to the angle that you can reach with a 50 degrees engine that it was used pre-war. So it's fun because there are many things that have been done, even if we don't knew, and we discover that we just start where he stopped exactly in the same way. So and we are really satisfied with the Aston Martin partnership because it's sold worldwide. It gives us a big visibility for our technique, for production quality, and so on. And I'm sure we have new project coming, because it have always been said that it's the first bike of a long-term partnership.
So it's how is the fuel injection system on it? Is that a specific design by yourselves in conjunction with another company, or?
No, we are using a Bosch Racing component like injectors and the electronic throttle, because it's a drive-by-wire. So the throttle is automatic, electronically managed, and it was necessary due to the peak, the torque, and the traction control. So we have an inertial central. We have a sensor that is detecting angle, acceleration, braking, and so on. So in really high speed, it's correcting the mapping of the bike. It can't prevent any problems, but it helps a lot to avoid common things like losing the wheel in reacceleration, for example. You see so that's for the electronic. And the last update have been made after a big aerodynamic study as well. We did it with a Formula One engineering company, and you could see the big moustache on the front of the final version, which have been unveiled at the Festival of Speed in Goodwood last July. And that version is the final version with a lot of aerodynamic to allows anti-wheeling system. So, for example, just the two moustache on the front is 50 kilo of downforce, above 250 kilometers per hour. So it's preventing wheelings, and you have more traction, so you could accelerate earlier in cornering.
The aerodynamics on motorcycles now have only in the last couple of years with MotoGP and with your bike, the aerodynamics are now have become very important. They hadn't been up until 2 or 3 years ago, and then they started to realise that they could get a benefit from the winglets at the front on the fairing and so on. So it's quite amazing, and it's a 4-valve cylinder head with chain drive. Would that be a high-low chain?
Yeah. So we have a really small Morse chain, and we have gears. So we have reduced the timing chain at the minimum. That's give you precision, and it's avoid the wearing in time. Because longer it is, more it's wearing. On this visual, you see really the difference between the first definition of the Pro and the definitive, the racing green one with the large moustache. And you have this air blade system, so the mouth is filled by air, and it's diverted through the cowl by the spoiler. So you have a kind of screen, which is just an air blade. But at top speed, it's not sufficient because it's really. We limited the bike at 300, so 180 miles per hour.
Wow. Yes. Well, it's sort of these sort of speeds are what some of the big road bikes are getting to. It's quite amazing how much power they're getting out of bikes, and this one is and it's a very narrow bike too. It's a good bike. Sorry,
it's really compact. It's really compact. The seat is high. Yes, it's cultural. If you see it, you've seen it in the flesh. When you turn around, you see how it's biomorphic. It looks like a shark. It's really aggressive and impressive, but all the detail have been refined. If you see the handlebar, for example, this is unique. Is containing all the pumps, the hydraulic system, the electronics, and you don't see any cable, hose, nothing. Everything is hidden inside, and it's open to be aerodynamic. And you could see just two crystal tube for the fluid, for the brake and the clutch fluid. It's really improved and optimized.
Yeah, the only time I've ever seen that is on bicycles in the Tour de France. The top end bicycles have all their cables hidden as well, for probably the same reason, to keep them out of the way and wind resistance.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an amazing looking machine. It's you
Yeah.
must be very proud. You must be very proud of how it's come out and the association with Aston Martin. And it's good to know there's some motorcycle people in Aston Martin. That's refreshing.
Yeah. And done like that, you know, because it's not just a sticker or a color livery on an existing bike. Everything have been designed specifically. There is no part that is not coming from the shelf or from an existing motorcycle. It's everything have been designed for that, with always the caution and you know, some input from Aston Martin. So we love that because we prefer to make a low volume of a really exclusive thing like that. We have not in mind any way to flood the world with thousands of bikes. That's not the question. We prefer to make limited edition, and each year launching a new model. So keep connected because you will see new things coming in the coming year.
Well, I shall be over in the UK again in July next year, and it'd be very nice to come to the factory. I've had a look at it on the internet, just to had a tour through it on the internet on your website, and it's stunning. So it'd be lovely to see the bike in the flesh, and it would be amazing to hear one of these.
Oh yeah, and you know, I'm inviting people interested in mechanics, if for any reason they are traveling in south of France or in Barcelona, for example, because it's only 4 hours from where we are. It was the visit, because we are making everything in-house. So we are making the engine, assembling the bikes. So you could see different livery and different finishings, because we are doing a lot of bespoke works as well. So if you are in the area, take contact, but for sure you're welcome to visit us.
Yes, well, I'd love to do that. It's a sensational piece of engineering. It really is. So we've gone through most of the bike as far as materials are concerned. The wheels, would they be forged wheels? You wouldn't use an outside manufacturer. You'd make it.
So we have two makes. We are machining the wheels in plain material. So that's the standard make, I would say. And then we have carbon fiber wheels, but here subcontracted from a specialist, because that's a really specific. And on the Pro, as you could see, the rear wheel is plain for aerodynamics, and they are really nice. So you have the spoke in forged carbon, and the rim is in canvas, in prepeg. So that's really hard to do, but you have a big weight save, and weight save on wheels brings a lot in terms of handling, you know, because it's a gyroscopic effect annulation, so that works really well.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Oh wow, that is sensational. I'm not sure if Christine has people that want to come online and ask Albert questions. Christine, have you got anybody who wants to ask Albert anything about the bike?
Well, if I can ask everybody to unmute themselves, and if anybody would like to ask a question, they're very welcome to do so. And one of the things I did want to reiterate is that Albert has very kindly said that any of our members, when they're traveling through the south of France, can stop by Toulouse and go and visit and see this fabulous bike in the process.
I must congratulate you on this, because it is just a work of art, and it's sensational piece of engineering. So congratulations, well done, and well done to Aston Martin for putting the whole project and yourselves together.
So I have a message from Anne Reid, who would like to know whether or not all of the 100 bikes have been sold.
Yes, so the first series, because there are two makes. You have the standard one from 2019. So obviously there have been the COVID stop, you know, so we lose 1 year in 20, but then we start to deliver those first bike in end of 21. and that's the first limited edition of 100 units. And this is sold out for 1 year and more. And now we have the Pro, which have been launched. So in the final version in last July, from which it's only 88 units. And here it's half of them are already booked. So we have some customer from the first version who have bought as well the second one to collect. We on the Pro, we have some Valkyrie or Valhalla customer asking the matching, because it's the same level of exclusivity, I would say. So they ask same color and trim and so on. And so yes, I would say less than 40 units are remaining for the moment. And we will make some announcements. So I'm sure it will go, yeah, within, let's say, I think within March, we will be sold out as well on the Pro.
Wow.
Can I just
Amazing.
ask a question, Albert? I would be interested to know how many people are using one of these bikes as a collector's item and just using it as a piece of art.
Oh, frankly speaking, it's a big part of them, because we sold a lot of bike in. We have a crate, like a flat case that you could personalize, you know, to make the display of the bike. And sometimes people are asking lightings to present the bike in the crate like a jewel, and truly those bikes won't be used. So I know that some are displayed in a casino in Macau, for example, and I'm sure that this bike will be never be ridden. That's sad in some ways, but people are investing, people are collecting rare things. So sometimes, you know, I don't have feedback, because if you see by air, you have to drain all the thing on the bike. You have to remove the lithium battery, you have to drain the fluids, the oil, the coolant, and so on. And I have some bike, or I've never been contacted, even if we have you know, a manual to do so, but I've never been contacted to restart the bike. So that means the bike won't be started. It's but on another hand, in US, probably in UK as well, I have some bikes that will be ridden or have been ridden in France as well. But my estimation is a third. A third of the bike will be ridden.
Okay, because somebody has actually asked another question. Paul has asked a question to say, have you adapted any of these bikes for road use?
Yeah, no, because it was designed from the beginning to avoid that. You know, it's the first bike. We have settled the contract to be a track-only bike, which was the easiest way to start to make from scratch a motorcycles, even for legacy reason, for homologation, for compliance, for many things. And so this bike can be upgraded, because you don't have catalyst, you don't have OBD, you don't have lights, you don't have noise tranquilization.
Okay.
The turbo is aspiring in the air. You don't have an airbox, you know, calming the noise and so on. So it's impossible to make a street bike from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think Brough will make a road bike of some description in the future?
Well, they are making a road bike. They're using a very similar engine in their road bike, and it's that's the one I saw at Blenheim Palace, which was incidentally parked with the Astons, and I couldn't quite work out why these new Broughs that I saw were parked with the Astons, and of course now it's all become very clear that there was a link up there, or there was friendship or some motorcycle enthusiasm between the two parties, which is interesting. But the road bike is obviously not. The engine is very similar, Albert, as far as I can see, but it's less power. But it's a road bike. It's designed,
yeah, and naturally aspirated. Yeah,
exhaust, noise, catalytic converters, lights, indicators. The whole thing is a completely different package when you have to comply to the world's Department of Transport regulations, it constricts the manufacturing of a pure out and out sports bike, which it does with cars as well. Otherwise, people would be driving around in Formula One cars. But but the road bike is a great looking machine as well, and very similar to a Brough. And you can see the likeness in it, which is great.
Yeah. Right.
Having
With
a
a
look-
titanium frame, only 8 kilos.
Right. Okay. So
a question
that's
from,
fantastic.
a question from Graham, who says, it's a fabulous engine, but why did you go for internal combustion rather than electric?
Because we love it. That's you know, it's easy because it's we could do nearly what we want because we are not aiming to provide a mass production motorcycle for commuting downtown, which is something totally different. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against electric itself, and we have made some prototypes. For example, with BMW, we did really high level of performance prototype for electric bikes in the past. But if it's still possible, we love sound, we love vibration, we love combustion engines. So if it's still possible, we will do so.
Great. Yeah, I love the little exhaust sticking out of the fairing as well. That's rather nice. And that all exhaust systems, Formula One material Inconel, I believe it would be, because again, the best materials have gone into this machine. Everything on it is literally, you couldn't get anything better. And the pure aluminium that's used, or the pure, I think it's 5000 series aluminium used for the engine to machine it, is, every part of it has got no porosity. It's absolutely 100% as strong as you can get. So yeah, fantastic, great, well done. So so electric. We had a car meeting. In fact, we had an Aston Martin meeting today here. We had a Christmas meeting, and there was somebody with a Tesla that I parked next to, and it was going up a hill, and it just looked like a car freewheeling up a hill. And I thought, this is very strong. But, we'll see what happens with the electric.
It will come as well. There will be probably electric project with us, as I said, but it's not an urgency, but it's an interesting technical challenge. And Aston Martin, as any manufacturer, is working on electric future as well, because there will be some hybridation and there will be some full electric offer in the future. That's a no-brainer.
Well, the weight issues with batteries and motorcycles could be an issue, but battery technology is changing all the time, and I think the Chinese, Japanese, and are well into the development of it. So yes, it will be interesting to see what happens. And some of the European observed trials bikes that I've seen in action are very powerful, and instant power and a lot of torque as well.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of interesting things with, no doubt.
Fantastic. Well, I can't think of too many other questions to ask. And Albert, you've been extremely open with the way the bike is made, and I appreciate you going through it like I have done. It's amazing. It'd be an interesting bike to ride. I don't know how it would feel with the forks like that. It would feel totally different, I'm sure. But it's
braking late is one of the most impressive feature of this bike. Is you could brake really late, but frightening.
Well, that's right, because with telescopic forks, the steering is really compromised. The whole bike changes into corners. So yeah, it would be a very interesting bike to ride, and who knows what will happen with MotoGP in the future, because you may be already working with some of the manufacturers with suspension systems that they can use in MotoGP bikes.
Yeah.
Be interesting
Who
to
knows?
see. Yeah, very, very good. Very excellent piece of machine.
I just ask if anybody else has any burning questions to ask, even to ask Terry actually, because I know that Terry's raced motorbikes and driven many bikes. So now's your opportunity to ask before we close for lunch.
Well, I haven't got red hair anymore, which is probably a good thing, really. But
Anyway,
yeah, so in fact, motorcycles got me into Aston Martin. In fact, and you'd know these people out there. I raced a Triumph Matisse, the Mark III Triumph Matisse, and I met the Rickmans, and I know Dom quite well. I said it was because of you that I got involved with Aston Martin. So I said, if you're racing a handmade motorcycle like a Mark III Matisse, which is what it was, I said, what sort of road can you buy? You're certainly not going to buy a Ford Cortina or a Ford, anything sort of boring. So of course I said, I sort of blamed him for me going into Aston Martins, because there's not much comparable to when you're involved with a bike like this. If you had a motorcycle like a Brough Superior on the road as your transport, and buy a car, what would you buy?
You're right to say that, because it's a change, because originally Brough Superior was not at the Rolls Royce of motorcycles, and I'm really pleased to switch to Aston Martin, because that's personal, but I prefer the positioning, the history, and the sportivity of Aston Martin. Than Rolls Royce is fantastic, but that's not my cup of tea, if you know what I mean. And I prefer 10 times Aston Martin. The image, the James Bond, everything. For us, it was a dream come true, being able to work with and do a motorcycle with them.
Absolutely. Well, it's certainly a very interesting company from way back when they started with Lionel Martin. The company has struggled, but basically striving for excellence is a costly thing, and you're then competing with a very expensive handmade car with people like Jaguars who were mass producing them, but they were still trying to compete. And of course, when you're building a hand built vehicle, there's no way you can compete with a mass produced car. But so many people don't appreciate it. And the thing I like about the people that buy some of the special Aston Martins, the 177s and Valkyries and such like, these people actually do know how good they are, which is really refreshing. It's not just they actually see the engineering, and they appreciate it, and they know it's a very, very high standard, which is really good.
When you see the evolution on the DB12, it really sporty now, with steering, road link, suspensions, efficiency. There is a big gap, and it's their policy in everything. Hypercars, Formula One success. For me, the brand is in a really good mood at the moment. It's the new strategy works really well.
Yes. Well, it'll. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens in the future, and I'll be interested to come and visit the factory next year. So I'll be at Goodwood. So and I'll come to Europe. So yeah, that's fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been incredibly interesting, and I've never seen anything a motorbike that looks like that. So It's been very insightful for us. Terry, thank you for staying up late. I don't know what time it is there, but probably.
Well, it's getting late. It's yeah, it's coming up to midnight, but I had to go easy at the Christmas party, but there we
Okay.
are.
That's great. Well, thank you for staying up so late. Albert,
That's all right.
thank you. You have given us so much information, and I
No.
know that you have to get to your family party now, so I'll leave
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
right.
welcome. No, I'm
Yes,
pleased
thank
to have
much.
people interested in, so
Thank you. Thank
always
you.
refreshing.
And also, it's great to know that you'll welcome some of our Aston Martin owners
Yep.
members to the factory. That would be fabulous. So thank you to both of you. Thanks to everybody. We'll resume some of these meetings in January. I'm sure everybody's off to do their Christmas shopping in the rest of December. So watch out for more of the In Conversation meetings coming up soon. Thank you.
I
everybody.
don't think
Thank
I'll
you
see
all.
one of these under my Christmas tree.
Probably not. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you so much.
Have a great
Charles.
Sunday.
That was a
Bye-bye.
mine of information. That's wonderful.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye-bye. Okay, Christine, thank you very much for all that.
Thanks, Terry. I know that you've stayed up late, so I really appreciate
That's all right, no problem. I hope I contributed. Albert was so knowledgeable and just poured out the information that there was hardly any questions I needed to ask, because he told us pretty much everything you'd want to know, and
Yes. Yeah.
it's so interesting.
But you're so insightful about motorbikes, so your questions were spot on. So again, really appreciate it. Thanks for staying up late. And
All right, my pleasure. You'll see him. I rang you. I couldn't get online earlier, so I rang you. So it went to your message bank, but I couldn't get onto the system somehow. I don't know
it's
why.
fine. All worked
All
out
right.
nicely in the end.
Okay,
So
that's great.
thank-
Lovely
thanks again,
seeing
Terry.
you, and my pleasure.
We'll
Thank you
talk
for
to
asking
again
me.
soon. Thanks, and
All right.
bye-bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.